my goodness. Oh my goodness. Guys, it's time to finally look at the Storm Collectibles SAGAT. The figure I was most excited for out of all the figures I've ever been excited for. I don't know if that's true, but it's up there. It's definitely up there. And I gotta tell you, this one's one for the record books, I think. It's a heck of a release. And I mean, it's a fairly basic character design. I'm basically a guy in shorts and wraps, and that's it. You would think it would be fairly easy to do, but it's not, because it takes a very particular style to make it look like an imposing character, and Storm managed to just absolutely nail it with this guy. So let's go ahead and get him off the stand and take a closer look. And this guy stands just about 23.5 centimeters, which makes him pretty close to 9.25 inches. And we're gonna do some height comparisons here because scaling has definitely been weird across basically every line of action figures lately, but in particular Storm, because we have all of these different releases that are meant to go together, and do they? Well, I don't know. But here's what we're gonna do, because SAGAT is definitely bigger than your average guy anyway. I think we're gonna be able to fudge it a little bit, but let's see. First of all, here's our 1/12 scale SAGAT from Soda, almost said Storm, and he's not anywhere near the size. Here's Guile from the same line. And so I would say SAGAT's probably a little small for this line, but still reasonably big. Let's go ahead and compare this Guile now. And he's in a different pose, but you'll see. So that makes SAGAT, yeah, I guess they're about the same across both. I don't know, I thought SAGAT was a little taller. Maybe this is accurate, maybe it's not. But either way, that's surely not 1/12 scale, that's for sure. But let's compare him to Ryu, who SAGAT would be matched up against. I suppose that's pretty close. He's still a giant behemoth of a person, so that's okay. And then if you want to compare him to the more closer anyway, to 1/12 scale Ryu, the regular Ryu, I'd say that's closer to the size I was expecting, but I think you could probably get away with any of them. I don't want to say he scales down necessarily, or skews down. I don't know, I don't have the measurements off the top of my head, but he is significantly larger than everyone else, and that's probably the most important factor. I have too many figures up here now. They're all over the place. You can't see them, but they're everywhere. And here he is up against another 1/12 scale figure. He just makes a Marvel Legends figure. Not that there would be any comparison anyway, but he's huge. He's huge. And then the last comparison I want to make is that I don't have anywhere else to stick these figures. The last comparison I want to make is this guy. I don't know about you guys, but even with 4 arms and fangs and everything else, I think I would pick SAGAT to win that fight. SAGAT, this is like the perfect embodiment of SAGAT. That looks like one mean dude. Like pure power and anger and meanness. I don't know, guys. That's pretty, like, that really sells it to me. Like, he just looks such like a badass, even compared to 4-arm monster guy. Alright. Okay, well now you guys have some comparisons. You guys seem to like comparisons. I don't know how helpful they actually are, but now you got a whole bunch of them. Hopefully that was good for you. Anyway, let's talk about SAGAT here. Overall, the aesthetic is about as close to anything can be, as close to good as anything can be. Perfect good? I don't know. It's great. That's what I'm getting at. It's like probably their best editor. Well, they did a really good job with Bison. They did a really good job with Zangief. They did a really good job with Akuma. They've done a lot of really good jobs, it turns out. But SAGAT might be the most out of all of them. I can't English. I haven't been sleeping and I'm still sick. But hopefully you get what I'm saying. It's just like, that's exactly what SAGAT should look like. He's huge. And of course there are different versions. The original Street Fighter 2 was a lot more normal sized. Alpha had a little bit more of a stylized look. Street Fighter 4, this is probably closer to the Street Fighter 4 look. I'm not sure it's perfectly accurate to the Ultra look, but I don't really care, because this is what I picture SAGAT to look like. Just a big, mean SOB. And I love the skin tone they used on him. It's great. The trunks are of the pale whitish, yellowish color. That's good with the red. Obviously the wraps look like wraps. That's all fine. The scar looks great. The face, oh, that's another thing. His face. They have had some trouble with faces, and his is one of the best. Bison's was really good. This one's really good. I don't know if any of the other ones stand out as being really good. Zangief's was pretty good. But this one is like basically perfect. That is what SAGAT's supposed to look like. So aesthetically speaking, this figure is as close to perfect as you can get, I think. Maybe his shoulders should be in a little bit farther. Like the joints themselves should probably be in a little bit so that they're about that wide all the time without having to be pushed forward, because they do come out kind of far when they go out. So I'll give it a 9 out of 10. His shoulders are really excessively broad. I don't really dislike it necessarily, but I think it might look a little more natural if they were just pushed in just a little bit. But that's okay. So 9 out of 10 for the aesthetic. Very nice looking figure. As far as accessories go, we have 4 heads. We have one neutral head, one head where he's gritting his teeth. That's a really great sculpt. One where he's laughing. That one's pretty good. And then one where he's all beat up. That one's pretty good. For the hands, we have 2 fist hands that come out in the package, 2 karate chop hands, 2 grapply type hands, and then 2 style pose hands. And then we do get his fireball blast effect thing, which is done really nicely in this translucent yellow with some translucent red painted on there. And then we have a little display stand to hold that up. Not the most accessories in the world, and no figure stand included. So if you want to do any dynamic poses in the air, you're going to have a secondary stand, whether it's a Storm one or someone else's. You're going to need that. But that's still a decent batch of accessories. I'll give it an 8 out of 10. Bunch of hands, bunch of heads, and a fireball. That's pretty good. Alright guys, it's time for the articulation. Does it hold up? Well, I already know, but I'm going to go through it like I don't so you guys can see everything. Storm has had some issues with articulation in the past, but they have done some that are exceptional, so let's hope this one is an exceptional one. The head is on a ball peg. I do wish it stuck up just a little bit more, and he had just a little bit more neck, but you still can move the head around pretty well. It leans, so that ball peg goes all the way down into here, and so it's a really long double ball peg that allows him to lean his head, and it works pretty well. It's probably a little more stiff than I'd like, but it's still pretty darn good. You're not going to have too much trouble posing this guy and it looking awesome. For the shoulders, we have a big ball peg that connects to the torso, and that's what you see here. Actually, it's right there. It looks like maybe they pushed those out farther than they used to do, and so that's why we're having these kind of wide shoulders. But anyway, with that, you get a really nice butterfly joint, though you do get to see some gapping in there, so be aware. Also, the chest is floating, so you can probably adjust any gapping away if you need to, but you do get to bring the shoulders in. You can kind of hunch them forward if you want. If you want to go back with them, they do go pretty far back, and you do hide most of the gapping, but you do have some, so be aware of that. But you do get good range up and down as well, and you can raise the arm up that way, so really good range horizontally. Of course, you have your full rotation, so that's good. Bicep swivel is fine. Double jointed elbow, just a little bit better than 90. I'd prefer a little more, obviously, but that's reasonable for a big guy like this. I'll take it. And then for the wrists, these are floating pieces. And we don't have the ball part anymore. It's just a regular ball hinge now, but that's fine. Like, the ball part was nice, but it was causing too many issues, I can imagine, and that's why they got rid of it. So that's fine. We just have a regular ball hinge, and that'll be okay. For the torso, we have a double ball peg in here, and like I said, this is a squishy floating piece, so he can lean back really far without any gapping. So that's really good. Can he lean forward without any gapping? I did that. It's not super loose. We're gonna get some gapping issues, so it's not as bad as Guile, but it's definitely could use a little bit of work. Leaning side to side, you get really good range, only minimal gapping. So all in all, that's pretty good. You do get your full rotation, so that's fine. The head's not super loose, by the way, but it doesn't have a ton of meat to grab onto. So you can see I have to actually pull on it to get it off, but it doesn't take much. So be aware of that. Like I said, I wish that ball peg was a little bit bigger. Be careful once you lean him forward that you don't get that stuck on there. Okay. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of a hassle, but whatever. Okay, so upper torso is really good. Lower torso is... Oh my gosh. So what's happening is I'm squishing this and it's pushing the head off the top. And that's really annoying. I didn't have that happen to me before, so that sucks. I wouldn't say it's a fatal issue, but it does suck. So ball peg down here leans forward really far. It doesn't lean back all that far. Side to side's pretty good. And then you have your rotation, so that's fine. Let's see how the hips are. I haven't tried the hips yet. I'm very curious about these hips. God, I love the proportions they did on this guy. So nice. All right, so the hips. Oh, that was... Oh. Ooh, that's very nice, and it's creamy. There's no real squeaking issues. I like that. There's some squeak. So you do get the legs up to horizontal though, so that's good. They do go all the way back. You're gonna have to tuck in his butt cheeks, but that's okay. So really good range for the hips. Thigh swivel. There is a thigh swivel in there, but you don't need it. I mean, leave that in there and then use this thigh swivel. That's what you want to do. Double jointed knees, better than 90, so I really like that. That's good. And now for the ankles. Let's see. They go all the way back. That's good. And they do go forward relatively far. Not a huge amount, but that's pretty far forward. And you get a toe hinge, so that should be good. And you get an ankle rocker, which is not the steepest of angles, but it's pretty good. So that's awesome. So, articulation on this guy, pretty exceptional. Yes, the head popped off from the neck being squished. That's obviously not a good thing, but is that really an issue? I don't know. I mean, the head could be tighter, but with interchangeable heads, those are the kind of things I don't mind. It's not like the head popped off as I was messing with the head. It just happened to push the neck up, so it doesn't really bother me. So articulation-wise, I'm gonna give this guy. It was pretty good. I'm trying to think, were there any real issues? Some slight gapping, I guess. I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10 for articulation. That was really good articulation for such a hulky guy. I like that a whole bunch. I do wish the head snapped on a little better, but that's not the biggest of deals. So time for the final thoughts on this figure. It's about as close to perfect as I could ever hope to get out of an action figure that's mass produced. I love it. I really love it objectively and subjectively. It is what it should be. And Storm just absolutely nailed it. Hit it out of the park. Home run, grand slam. Very, very good. So I'm going to give this figure a 9 out of 10. I don't know if my numbers add up to that, but I always weight things differently anyway and then figure in things that aren't on that list anyway. So final verdict, 9 out of 10. Storm crushed it. This is one of their strongest releases by far. And it's SAGAT, which is a cool character, so that's bonus points in my book, but also just, wow. They took a very basic design and just really nailed it. I think anybody who buys this is going to be very happy. This is a perfect example of what Storm is capable of doing. I wish they, real talk here, as they say, I do wish they were a little bit more consistent. We've been getting some really strong releases lately, but then we've also had some which were not as strong, in like Guile, for example. But all in all, look at that. I mean, other than the lines from the articulation, that looks like a little statue. Okay, I am done. That's a really, really nice figure. Definitely get one. Alright guys, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please do give it a thumbs up. If you didn't enjoy this video, give it a thumbs up anyway, because why not? And if you haven't subscribed, you should probably do it because I have awesome content. No, I'm just kidding. But you should, because I have thousands of videos already on the channel, which are awesome, and new ones coming out every day, which are awesome, and you should subscribe. So make sure you come back for all of that, and in the meantime, keep collecting.